So you've reached level 60. Congratulations. But now what? There is so much content to do and so many different places to go get things. How do you keep track of it all? Where do you get started? And what is the goal? I'm going to break it all down for you. I have a sheet that's going to be accessible to everybody. It's going to be in the description of this video. Let's jump into the game, and then I'm going to go over all of the different activities that you're going to be able to do, and then where to go to do them. So the very first thing that you want to get started with when you hit level 60 is pick an endgame build. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and find a build guide that you need to follow. It does mean that you need to adjust from your leveling build into an endgame build. That means pick a specific path that's going to do big damage. You're going to get rid of basic skills unless you're running a very specific basic skill build. If you're interested, I'm going to keep my endgame build here that I put together. This is a Touch of Death Centipede build. It is incredibly fun. I'm hitting for billions and billions and billions of damage. We've cleared 100 in the pits already. So if you want to use it, click the link, check it out. It'll also give you a really good idea of where to look for and what to do with the skills because there's a lot of synergy with the Spiritborn. If you're not playing a Spiritborn, that is okay because there are a lot of other builds out there that people are putting together. Eventually, I'll be getting to some, but right now, this is the only one that I have for an endgame build. The next thing you need to do is make sure that you unlock all of your endgame content. So that means that you're going to complete the campaign. And if you're at this point, you probably already done that. Then you're going to work on what the game has given you as like an introduction. You're going to work through the quest line. The quest that was given to us to help us get into some of the endgame content is called the Deeds of the Champion. I haven't completed this on purpose yet because I wanted to show off what it looked like. I have all of the activities done. You're going to have to complete the Stronghold Kinchuk, complete the quest line, Tenets of Depravity, and then complete 3 dungeons in Nahantu. Once you've done that, you're going to go to your map, you're going to go down, and then you're going to turn that in right up here. This is where you're going to unlock the Dark Citadel. So that's going to be the other half of it. But while you're going through and you're doing this quest line, it actually is also going to unlock the Undercity for you. It'll explain how to do it, where to go, and what to get. Your end game content this season is going to be a ton of variety. Now, this stuff here is for the expansion pack. If you don't have the expansion pack, there is still a lot in this video for you. So make sure you keep on watching because we're going to cover the rest of it that does not have to do with the expansion pack too. Now, I just threw a lot out there at you. Now, what exactly is endgame content? In Season 6, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pushing the pits. We're going to be running the Dark Citadel and the Undercity Cross if you have the expansion pack. You're also going to be pushing Nightmare Dungeons in Tormented Tiers, and then you're going to be running your boss fights. That is going to be the basis of all of the endgame that you're going to be running. But why push higher tiers? How does this work? So inside the game here, we have several different tiers, and the whole entire system has changed now. We're currently in Torment 4. So you can get all of the best loot in Torment 1. The only difference is if you look at what it says right here, as you progress through, now you're getting 400% more gold, increased legendary, unique, and mythic items in the tormented tiers. So now as you go, your armor is being reduced, but you're getting more gold and experience. So this is going to help level up your Paragon board, which is going to be something we'll talk about in a little bit. And then your drops increase the higher you go. So when you're doing boss fights, for example, the higher torment tier, the more the boss fights will drop per torment tier. So there is a very big purpose and a very point to pushing those tiers, but it is not something you have to rush through and is not something that if you don't feel comfortable doing 2, 3, or 4, you can still get all of the gear that you need, get your build together in Torment 1. So the next thing that you're going to look for is how do you know if you're ready to move up in Torment tiers? There's a really, really great way and a really easy way to tell if your build is ready and it's online. And that's going to be running the pits. The reason is when you look here at the pits, when you go down to pit number 20, that is going to be Torment 1. Now, if you've gotten to this point already, you've cleared pit 20. That gives you Torment 1. As you go through and you can clear pit 35, that will be Torment 2. Go on, going all the way down to 50 is Torment 3, and then 65 is going to be Torment 4. The pits are really unique because they are static. You don't have to just switch. You can slowly increase the tiers of the pit. The higher that you go, the closer you get to being into that next level of torment. So if you get yourself and you run a tier 65 and you're like, well, that was a breeze, chances are when you run out into, let's say, Hell Tides in Torment 4, it's going to feel almost exactly the same. Torment Pit 65 is Torment 4. Now, just clearing Pit 65 doesn't mean that Torment 4 is going to be a breeze. The jump between 3 and 4 is very, very big. So make sure that as you're going, if you want to make sure that you are comfortable there, push a little bit further. If you can feel comfortable in 70, 75, then you're going to start to feel really comfortable and really safe just running around the world. So that is going to be a really great way to determine if your build is ready to take that jump to the next Torment tier. Now, moving back in, level 60 priority list. This is how I approached this season, and it's worked out really, really well for me. I hit Torment 4 very quickly, my build felt great, and this is what I prioritized as I went. When I hit level 60, the first thing that I needed to do was get my glyphs. So how did we do that? At level 60, your glyphs will start to drop. You can run nightmare dungeons to get those. Those were my preferred method. Pits will also drop them, and pits are used to level up your glyphs. So that's going to be a great place to go too if you want. But nightmare dungeons are going to give you other materials that you're going to need in order to progress your character even further. They can drop in the open world, such as Hell Tides. They also can drop from the Realm Walkers, which you're going to need to do the Realm Walkers very often because the Opals are very, very key to this season. They are integrated incredibly deeply, and you need to make sure that you have Opals at all times. You have all of the glyphs that you need. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to run the pits. You want to make sure that you get all of your glyphs to a minimum level of 15 first. It's actually going to be relatively quick to get there. How the pit system works with leveling up your glyphs. If you go in and you clear a pit that is less than 10 levels higher than whatever the level of your glyph is, you will have a 70% chance to successfully upgrade your glyph. If it is 10 levels or more above the glyph level, you have a 100% to upgrade it once. If it is 20 levels or more above your glyph level, then you have a 100% success rate to upgrade it twice. And if you are going way above, let's say that you're running pit 70 and you upgrade a brand new glyph, you're going to go up by multiples of 4. Now, when you go to upgrade your glyphs, you're going to get 3 chances, but you actually get a bonus chance if you don't die. You have up to 4 chances total to upgrade your glyphs. So if you're running a very, very high level pit and you have a brand new glyph, that means that you're going to get at least 16 levels per run. That is actually way more than it was before the season hit. The way that the power creep works with the glyphs, you feel massive jumps when the glyphs start to level, especially when you go to level 46. That is where your glyph becomes legendary. So at 46, your glyphs are actually going to turn orange, and they'll look just like this here. You get a multiplicative damage number for each legendary piece. At the very bottom where it says that increased poison damage, they're all multiplicative. Each glyph will have them unlocked when you hit level 46. So what I did was I made sure that I hit everything to level 15 first, and then on one at a time, I leveled all of my glyphs up to level 46, and the power jump was amazing. It allowed me to transition between the different torment tiers very, very quickly and increased my clearing through the pits very, very quickly as well. So now that you've been running the pits, at the very end, if you have been running the Tormented Opals, which is the purple one, look like this here, you're going to start getting Infernal Horde compasses. At the end of all of your Nightmare Dungeons or the end of all your pit runs, if you have this active, enemies routinely drop Artificer's Stones. That is used to unlock the pit, so these are your Artificer's Stones. It also has a chance to drop Awesome Summoning Mats or Infernal Horde compasses. I get asked very often, where do the Horde compasses drop? Because I want to run the Hordes, because the Hordes are a great source of XP and materials. So now that you've started getting your Infernal Horde compasses, that's what we do next. We run the Infernal Hordes. So again, the keys are going to drop from your Nightmare Dungeons and your pit runs. Make sure that you're using the purple opals as you go. Always buy the equipment chest in the Infernal Hordes. It guarantees you at least one piece of legendary ancestral gear. Ancestral gear is the highest item power in the game. Not only does it give you the higher item power, it also makes the affixes do a little bit more. You see that 80% there. It's normally 80 when it's on a regular legendary piece of gear. I haven't found the highest one, but in the highest piece of gear, it actually goes up to 100% because we're running it on an ancestral piece of gear. You get a slight little boost for all of your affixes when you're running ancestral gear versus regular legendary gear. So that's going to be your end goal, and that is why you always want to make sure that you take the equipment chest. After that, you're going to take the materials chest because that's going to give you Obdicite down here, and then that's going to be used for Masterworking. Since we're talking about gear, let's talk about Obals. Not Opals, Obals. I don't know why Blizzard decided to take something so similar and name it something so similar. What I'm talking about is the Opals down here. This is the purveyor of curiosity. This is where you gamble on gear. Everybody is using very specific uniques, or at least for this build that I'm running here, but most builds run uniques. They upgraded gambling. They increased the likelihood of getting your drop rates of uniques by 3 times. They also have added this great little thing into your ashes, so make sure you complete your seasonal journey, that it boosts the chance of receiving a second item when you're purchasing from the purveyor of curiosities. Make sure you put your ashes into here too before you start gambling. But everybody asks, I need a Rod of Kepaleka, because this is huge. It's been used in so many of the Spiritborn builds. You come here and you go to the quarterstaff. I have 2,000 opals. I'm going to buy a full run of them, and then you're going to look. We've already gotten 4 uniques. We've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4 of the uniques that I need for this build. That means that any of the uniques that you need, it doesn't matter if you're just putting this build together, you just go to the Purveyor of Curiosity, gamble. You do have a chance to get an Ancestral Unique Legendary. So I did get 1 here. The uniques can be ancestral, so you can get the best gear in the world right from the Purveyor of Curiosities. And a little bonus, you can get mythic uniques, and it doesn't even have to be this specific one. You could be gambling on Quarterstaff, and you can get a Harlequin's Crest. So this goes back into making sure that you have picked your endgame build, you know what you want, so this way you can go to the Purveyor of Curiosities, and then you can gamble on the uniques that you need to make sure that your build is complete. Next up is going to be runes. So as you go through the game, runes drop all over the place. There is no specific place to go farm runes. They drop from everywhere. So the next thing we're going to talk about is runes. Runes will be dropping from everything. There is no specific place to go farm specific runes. They just drop. So if you're looking for specific ones, a really great tip that I have for you guys is to hop into Discord with us. The link is going to be in the description of this video. We have a really great community. They're really helpful. They're very welcoming, and they're very open to sharing what they're finding. So if you need to, hop in and we can trade all of the stuff that you're finding with all of the people that are in this community. It's a great way to get the gear and the loot that you want this season. So you've started your endgame. You're now running the pits. You're running nightmare dungeons. You're running the infernal hordes. Now you start seeing paragon points. It looks like this here. This is your new paragon level. When we start hitting level 60, paragon is going to open up for only what we have unlocked through renown, which brings me to renown. Make sure that you go through your Nahantu region and complete the renown, because there's 4 paragon points there that you want to get. It doesn't take too long now because you don't have to unlock the last one. You just go here, but you do get 1,000,000 gold. So it is a little bit of an incentive for doing it here. Make sure you go and unlock that. As you go into the Paragon board, you're going to unlock 24 points right away. You're going to start putting those in. Now, if you pull up an endgame build guide, you have to be careful that you don't go and you pull up a guide that has 300 points, and then you start following that to a T. What I've done with my build guides here is if we go into this, it's going to have 2 different types of boards. When we go into the Paragon board here, it's only going to actually have almost 200 points spent. And that's so that we can get a complete board filled out, all of your glyphs in. You haven't just spent all of your Paragon points by the time you get here, and then you can't put in the other glyphs because you don't have any of the Paragon points. And you have this long grind to get to 300 because it is a long grind. So as you're building your Paragon boards, the most important goal is to get each one of your glyphs and unlock your glyphs. That's first. Get all of the legendary powers in each of the boards, because that's now accessible. In the past, we weren't able to unlock every single legendary power, so we had to pick the best of them. Now, with the new Paragon system, you can unlock all of them. So make sure you have a complete board before you start putting in anything extra, so you can really take advantage of all of the power that you get from the Paragon boards. The next thing that we're going to look at is going to be Masterworking. Now, Masterworking is incredibly expensive this season. It has changed a lot. The days are gone of just going through and hitting that reset button over and over and over and over again. The reason that it's changed is not only has the Masterworking materials changed, it is strictly Opticite, but now it requires Forgotten Souls. Forgotten Souls have been playing a huge part in it. Not only are they used in Masterworking, but if you look here, they're used in tempering as well. If you came over here and then you try to put on a new aspect, that aspect is also going to require Forgotten Souls. So they increase that a lot. The Forgotten Souls are going to be what's going to make sure that the pacing of the game isn't done in a week. They still did buff it, so we'll see how it looks, but your masterworking is going to be very specific now. You're not going to just grab a piece of gear, throw it up to 12, throw it on, see if it works. You're going to have to know your build, you're going to have to know what works, and then if you do end up going up, you got to make sure you're very, very picky about when you're re-rolling and what you're doing. Masterworking is still an incredibly strong boost to your power, so make sure that you do masterwork. Don't be afraid of it, but just do it a lot more strategically than we've done it in the past. And finally, the one that everybody has been waiting for, the mythic uniques. Now, where does this fall on the list of priorities that I've put into this? Absolutely dead last. I gave up boss runs that were offered to me because I wanted to make sure that my character was in a good place so I could go to Torment 4. And I was one of the first people that was able to get into Torment 4 in my clan and actually start killing bosses because I didn't start killing bosses in Torment 1. I focused on everything all the way from A down to F first. Then I started worrying about bosses. And what happened was we started getting more drops. I was able to carry more people through Tormented 4 bosses. They got more drops. Instead of having the lower drop rate in Torment 1 or 2, work your way to Torment 3. Don't focus immediately on Tormented bosses and getting the Uber Uniques, because you can take builds this season to Torment 1, 2, and 3 without having Mythic Uniques. I actually went all the way up to tier 96 in the pits without a single Mythic Unique. Now, I know I'm playing a Spiritborn, and they are incredibly strong this season, but make sure that this is on the bottom of your priority list. They're hard to get. It's a time sink. You have to farm a lot of boss mats. So focus on everything else and work as this towards your end goal of how you build your character. That was how I've prioritized my character throughout the season. Now, I put a little bit in here for you guys as a little bit of a reference where to farm everything. These are a couple of the very common ones that people are looking for. We're looking for Opticite, Artificers, Stones, Forgotten Souls, and Angel's Breath. The reason that I took these pictures here, and if you look, Blizzard has put in a tooltip, which is actually incredibly handy. If you go into any of the materials that you need, and you mouse over it or you hover over it with your controller, it now shows you exactly where to get each one of these. Now, something that they don't show in this, if you do a Legion event, Legions actually do a ton of crafting materials. If you have unlocked your mercenaries and you have the expansion pack, when you get level up your rapport, if you go turn in all of your pale marks, you actually are going to get the option to unlock some really, really cool caches. So one of the caches is boss materials, so you can use that to get some of the boss materials here. You can get a ton of legendary gear. You can even get ancestral gear or aspects that you need. So you come here, and then these are all of the options that you have. You have a utilities aspect cache. You can restock the supply if you need to and you have enough. What is going to look like Masterworking cache? So let's buy that. We're going to open it up. And what this does, it gives you all a whole bunch of Obdicite, and it gives you Obals. So this is a really, really awesome place to go. And you can simply get it just by playing the game. As you level up the rapport with your mercenaries, even your reinforcements who aren't out there all the time with you when they're in the party, they still are going to get rapport. So make sure that you don't forget to use all of your pale marks here, because they are very, very important, and it's going to give you a really big boost to whatever specifically you're looking for. Now, moving down the list, we're going to go into activities here. You're going to start with your Nightmare Dungeons. What drops in Nightmare Dungeons? You have Glyphs, Obdicite, Angel's Breath, and Obals. Obdicite was moved out of the pits and into Nightmare Dungeons. If you have an insanely fast build, Obdicite might actually be better farmed in Nightmare Dungeons than it would be in the Infernal Hordes, because you can move through them faster, and then you can get a ton of Obdicite the higher up the Tormented tiers you go. The next thing is going to be the pits. You're going to have Glyph XP, Player XP, and then Gear. Pits is actually going to be a really great place to farm XP as you're leveling up your Paragon board, because it is very straightforward. It is just killing monsters, and you can run them very, very quickly. And plus, you're leveling up your glyphs. So you're going to be in there no matter what. The Infernal Hordes, arguably the best place to go for player XP. Hands down, their waves are so dense, there's so much monsters there, and you can go up by the Torment tier inside of the Infernal Hordes. The way that keys work for your Nightmare dungeons, for your Infernal Hordes, for bosses, it is one key. You can get that key in Torment 1. The key stays exactly the same all the way through each one of the Torment levels. The only difference is as you increase the Torment level, that key gets harder and harder and harder. There is no more tier 1, 2, 3, 4 of your Infernal Hordes. What they have done is actually pretty cool. Let's say that you are short on time and you have a wave cap 6. You're like, I just want to knock out an Infernal Horde really quick. Now you hop into one that is 6 waves, you run it real quick, you get your loot. Let's say that you're farming with a bunch of friends. You guys are just hanging out. You're having a great time. You want to run 10 waves. You get more for your money because you're going to have more chances to get ether. You can get more out of the materials cache. This is an option for you. They're giving you a 6, 8, and a 10. I really like this change because now I get to pick how much time I spend inside of the Infernal Hordes. Moving down, we're going to go into your bosses. The Tormented bosses, it is just bosses now. There's no regular version or no Tormented version. They unlock when you hit Torment 1, and then they get more and more difficult but drop better loot the higher up the Tormented tiers you go. This is where you get all of your target farming uniques. Other than your Obals, you can go here to target farm. I'm going to have a list at the very bottom of this. I'll put this in after the video is done, of a website that you can go that lists out every single one of the uniques. So make sure you check that out too. That'll be in the description, and it'll also be inside of this sheet here. You can get your mythic uniques here. Now, that's not the only place, but it is the best place. A change this season they made. Duriel and Andariel now have double the drop rate of all of the other bosses. So the end goal is to work through all of your materials to get to Andariel or Duriel to get all of those mythic uniques that you want. Runes drop very frequently from the bosses. Every single boss that you kill is going to drop a rune. They're also going to drop Forgotten Souls, and that also got buffed today. So you're going to see more Forgotten Souls from doing your bosses. Helltides is up next. Helltides is a great place to target farm loot because you can go to the specific chest that you want. So you know exactly what you're going to get. If you're looking for weapons, if you're looking for armor, you know where to go when you do it. It also is a great place to get Forgotten Souls, Angel's Breath, and boss material drops all over the place from Helltides. One of the new endgame events is going to be the Undercity Cross. This is only for the expansion pack, so if you have it, you'll be able to access it. Use a group with tributes. Now, how do you get the tributes? This gets asked a lot also. You have to make sure that you complete the Deeds of the Champion, then they'll start dropping. If you don't complete this, they will not start to drop. They are not a very common drop. It does take a little while and a little bit of farming to get them. From what I've seen, because I've been asking around, because I wanted to hold off on doing this until I got this video done, about 1 in every 10 bosses, sometimes people were seeing tributes. What's cool about the Undercity is that when you use a tribute, your entire group gets the benefit of that one tribute. So go in with a group, because if you're target farming, like what you can do, you can run one with boss mats, or you can run one for Obdicite, runes. What's really cool is specific affixes on gear. So let's say that you want to run for an amulet that has skill ranks on it, or for something, whatever it is for your build, you can specifically look for an amulet with affixes on it. And that will work for your entire party. More chances to get gear that you guys are all looking for because you can share that loot. So, like we covered here, the tributes are obtained from the Infernal Hordes, the pits, bosses, but they're not guaranteed. The last thing we're going to cover today is going to be the Realm Walkers. If you haven't done this yet, go do it, please. It is the seasonal mechanic. This is available to anybody, even if you don't have the expansion pack. This seasonal mechanic here is the only place for Opals. And like I said, Opals will give you very specific things, but they also give you 15% increased experience, and that works for your Paragon board too. They stack with other elixirs and with incense. So make sure these are running at all times. You're going to have to visit the Realm Walkers pretty often because you only get 2. Because you only get 2 per kill, but that's okay because it is just one more thing that we're going to have to do that is going to keep this season fresh, alive, and fun. That is all I have for Season 6 for the endgame stuff to get you started. We're going to do a complete in-depth video on the Dark Citadel because that is something else on its own. There's a lot of intricacy in how the fights work and how that really runs, so that's going to be completely separate, but if you want to hop into it, it is a ton of fun. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Glyphs. I'm live every night around 7 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. So stop by, say hi, theory craft with me. Catch you on the clip side.